like it's safe for me here, wherever here is, okay? If I get stuck in that place and I never have the capacity to return to my original safety that I needed, right, then I'm never going to get to the independent place, the full growth, the full I grew up and now I can handle my own business, right? Because I didn't go through all of those stages. So what I want to talk about really quickly is trauma, brain development, and attachment styles, and how those things, collectively, we sort of refer to them as, or relational trauma. So trauma we define as any experience too overwhelming for the mind and body to process the right way. And the right way just means in the way that a human being was intended to develop, okay? Two primary types, like surviving a huge hurricane, or being shot at, or rape, or molestation, any of these kinds of things that happened that set us into our most basic brain function, which is instinct. Instinct protects us. Instinct, brainstem, the most unevolved, like the reptilian brain, is the part of our brain that allows us to survive. It's the part that pumps our heart, that it does all the automatic functions that are necessary for us to breathe, for our blood to flow, and all these different things, right? It's also where our instincts live. So if our instincts are challenged before we can run away or before we're strong enough to fight, then we freeze. So you've heard of the fight or flight, right? So if I'm 25 years old and something scary as hell happens to me, I'm going to probably run, or, you know, we're about to go down. We're about to fight. But when I'm a baby and I'm in a situation where I'm not strong enough to fight and not strong enough or able to run, I freeze. And what happens during a traumatic event is all these stress hormones are released, and my body tightens up, and my brain is affected in what it releases, and the way that the structure is built, the way that my foundation is built, okay? We also have relational events, and when these kinds of things happen matters. If they happen in the first 1,000 days from conception to 1,000 days following conception, right, when we're still in the womb, the stress that that baby experiences is what we call developmental trauma, okay? And that already begins to build the brain structure that will affect this child's ability to be resilient through the course of their life. After we're born and we're in the early years, a primary caregiving relationship builds our attachment. So whoever is caring for us, their ability to respond to us, my ability to learn that when I'm in fear or hungry or whatever these base needs are, when I scream or cry or whatever I do to get their attention, when they come to me, that's the beginning of a secure attachment style. So I start to learn before I'm even verbal that when my body makes me scream out of instinct for needing something because I'm hungry or I'm tired or I poop myself, that somebody will come and handle it. I'm fully dependent. I can't do it myself, don't know how to, don't know what's wrong. A lot of people don't ever get past that place because when they were babies, nobody came. Nobody came. And if they did come, they didn't know what to do either, right? So we have these different attachment styles that begin to create the foundation of our entire blueprint for life. And to the question, can everybody help? I think that everybody has to do their own work. I think that we have decided in our world that trauma belongs to war veterans, it belongs to street life, it belongs to rape. But those are the really, really pronounced traumas, right? That's like seeing an alcoholic with a brown bag living in the Tenderloin. That's an alcoholic, but you got alcoholics who are working at the bank. Mm-hmm. So we take these really extreme examples of these things that everybody is experiencing, or a lot of people are experiencing, And we call just the most extreme cases, in this case, trauma. And so we're not dealing with so much more. Relational trauma happens in just about everybody's life. What we're finding now through the ACE study, which I talked to you guys about before, the adult adverse childhood experiences, they've got a series of things that if you've experienced some of these things and you've experienced relational trauma, and all that means is that when you were little and dependent on something else to provide for your needs, there were failures. And the failure is not malicious. The failure is often a lack of capacity of the caregiver, right? And it's consistency. It's based in consistency. So the different attachment styles are secure. Builds a sense of confidence in a child that responsiveness will be there in a time of distress. Avoidant attachment. An adult with an avoidant attachment is somebody who is used to and more comfortable with distance and separateness, and may therefore appear self-centered and unresponsive to other people's needs. Because when they're little, relationship where the child decides it's fruitless to rely upon others to meet their needs, because nobody can. Or if they did, it was anybody's guess which time their needs were going to be met. Ambivalent attachment is a pattern that involves erratic emotional clinging accompanied by frustration and resentment. Come here, go away. Come here, go away. I love you. I hate you. I love you. Shut up. Disorganized attachment is a pattern that characterized by fear of relationships and an inability to develop a working strategy. So this all happens before we are even speaking, right? Now, the brain develops in hierarchy. It starts at the base level, instincts, brainstem, and it evolves as we evolve through experience. Our brain, our neurons, the little guys that make up everything in our brain that make sense of stuff, they are designed to change based on outside stimulus. The way that they operate, the way that they engage, and the way that they are built shifts per environmental influence. Okay? So, when we are in the developmental stage that we are dependent, our brain is more plastic, meaning it's more capable of shifting because we're building ourselves still, right? We're still under construction. In that stage, if we experience attachment trauma, right, then that becomes the way that our brain thinks reality is. And when, yes, our experience when we're pre-verbal, we're developing our brainstem in that time in our early pre-verbal functions and such. So when we experience, I'm hungry, I cry, nobody comes, or I'm afraid and I cry and nobody soothes me, when that becomes my experience, before I can even speak it, my brain has developed, it's built the connections, and it has not built other connections that ultimately allow me to grow a belief system that I'm not worth it, nobody's coming, and this is reality. That's reality. And so that's what I begin to develop my building of myself on, right? So, as we go through, we just need to understand that the neurons are designed to change in response to external signals. And so which stage of our development these traumatic events happen matters, right? An adult having a traumatic event, their behavior will be affected. But an infant or a child under like 3, and even a little beyond that, somebody having a lack of response to their needs, right, affects the developing brain in such a way that it creates the schema or the plan or the blueprint for their reality for the rest of their lives. The reason I love 12-step programs is because whether they understood that or not, and I think that they might not have yet, because a lot of like Maslow's hierarchy and a lot of these different folks who put together 12-step programs those theories didn't come out until about 10, 15, 20 years post the beginning of 12-step programs. But what they do is they create an environment, Brian always says this, to create a corrective experience. Can somebody who has had relational trauma get better? Yes.
Yes.
What is the likelihood of somebody who has gotten to that place of interdependence and has sort of self-perpetuated the belief that I'm not worth it, nobody loves me, nobody's coming? What is the likelihood that that individual is going to feel safe enough to ask for help? Not likely. They find other ways to soothe. Drugs, alcohol, sex, pleasing, control. These are all things that people choose to soothe their own inability to deal with reality. Right? Because the reality that formed inside of them when they were infants contrasts sharply with the reality that they're existing in. And they can't bridge them. Yes.